Welcome to the Legacy All-Stars podcast. We speak with inspirational people making a difference in the lives of others. Here is your host, Alan Pavlosky.
All right, welcome to the Legacy All-Stars podcast. I am so excited to have my friend Rhonda Rajsich with this audience. It's just such an honor to bring her on, to get to know you guys. It's not often you get a chance to say the GOAT is on your show, but Rhonda is very humble and she will likely be uncomfortable hearing this, but I can tell you, in my view and in no uncertain terms, that Rhonda is the GOAT of women's pro racquetball all time. She is also inspirational on so many other levels. We've known each other, full transparency. Rhonda and I have known each other for 20 years, worked together on many projects, and I'm sure you're going to love getting to know her. So without further ado, I present to you my friend, Rhonda Rajsich. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't realize it was 20 years, but yeah, I think you had hair when we met.
I did have hair. Thank you for reminding me that it's gone. I appreciate that. So let's get started. I want everybody to really get to know you the way I do, hopefully. You've had an incredible career in racquetball with numerous championships and accolades. Tell me what drew you to the sport initially.
Well, my parents joined a health club when I was 2. They stuck me in the nursery. I figured out how to sneak out. And my father was just learning to play racquetball from my godfather. And my mother was playing either outside playing tennis with my godmother, or they were doing aerobics, in the gym. So pretty much it was just kind of I snuck out and I wanted to go find out what my parents were doing. And my dad was the closest one. And plus it was, something new, something exciting. And it looked intense and something I wanted to do. So I would kind of wander out and find which court he was on and be like, okay, there he is. And then I would run down and grab a basketball. Now keep in mind, I'm 2 years old. So I'm walking around with a basketball, it's about this big, carrying it around and doing whatever I can do with the ball being half my size. But I'd watch my dad, and when he was in between games, I would run up and steal his racket and run onto the court and hit around as much as I could. And I remember he would be like, all right, kid, give the big people the racket back now. What are you doing out here anyway? Where's your mother? And it's funny because until I started, having some success as I got older and, getting interviewed and answering these kind of questions, I don't think either one of my parents realized that I was sneaking out until I admitted it. I think my dad always thought my mom was taking me out. My mom always thought my dad took me out. They didn't realize that I just didn't want to be in there in the first place.
Of course you were big mischievous.
Yeah, of course I was. Also, my parents got divorced when I was quite young, around 5 or 6. And my father kind of dove headfirst into racquetball that was his therapy, if you will. That became his focus was, all right, I'm going to go do this and get as good as I can. So he would go to the camps and the clinics and take instruction and come back and pass on to me everything that he had just learned. So that was part of it. And the other part of it is I'm an only child. So that was something I could do that I didn't need someone else to do it with me. Like tennis, yeah, you got to have somebody to hit it back. Anything else, a lot of it required, participation of someone else. And we just didn't have that option all the time. So, my dad used to say that he made the court his babysitter, but it was more than that. It was, I wanted to be there. He didn't just stick me in there like, here, go do this, leave me alone. It wasn't like that at all. He was extremely involved. He was very passionate about it. I was very passionate about it, and I loved doing it. And I also loved, you don't hear a lot of people say that they're into racquetball at that age. So I really enjoyed that. And I played, the traditional sports too. I played baseball. I played softball. I played volleyball. I played basketball. I'm actually better at basketball than I am at racquetball. But, I enjoyed having, that sport that not a whole lot of other people were aware of or, had tried or were familiar with. So it was kind of like that thing that I got to introduce them to, and which I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Looking back on that, what do you think has been the key to your long-term success and dominance in racquetball?
I'd have to say probably just my constant, obsession, if you want to call it that, for improvement. Like I always feeling like there's still something I can do better. I always said, the way that I operate is don't practice until you get it right, practice so you can't get it wrong. And I really appreciate that feeling because I've spent, several years over the course of my career, with my own coach and other great players and other great coaches as part of the coaching staff of the. We have a racquetball elite training camp that we did every year for about a week in Colorado Springs, and then it moved on to Denver, and then it's been in a few other places. But anyway, at that camp, there's times where I have tried to express to some of the attendees, like, I get it. My backhand used to be like, wait, I can't do it wrong anymore. Like, I can't even show you how bad it used to be because I can't do it that bad anymore. It's there. There's a feeling to that. There's a feeling of, wow, I actually lived what I said, and don't practice till you get it right. Practice till you can't get it wrong. And because I'm trying to demonstrate how bad it used to be, and I can't do it anymore. It's great.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, and knowing also then being able to demonstrate that is possible. Like, it's not just a great little catchphrase that sounds nice. It's actually possible.
Absolutely. Throughout your career, you faced both victories and setbacks. How did those experiences shape you as an athlete, and even more importantly, as a person?
I think that every experience is a learning opportunity. For example, I was violently attacked outside my home in Hermosa Beach several years ago, and had to have facial reconstructive surgery. My eyeball almost fell out. I lost 37 pounds, couldn't eat solid food for 5 months, couldn't sleep laying down, lots of things. So there was a lot going on there. But in the meantime, I had decided, while that was all occurring, that I was still going to be prepared to go to the World Championships. Now, I almost didn't go. Understandably, Team USA did not assume that I would be participating. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm going. Watch. I was able to talk my way into maintaining my spot on the team. I did get to go to the Worlds, and I ended up winning my first world title in that situation. So part of that is, I'm still to this day in excruciating pain. My pain level on a daily basis is 10 out of 10 at best. Right now it's a lot worse than that. It's around 60. 60 out of 10 today. It's a bad day. But it's okay, because that daily pain is my daily reminder of everything that I have to be grateful for.
Yeah,
The thing about that experience in particular is that, as much pain as I'm in, as many other subsequent surgeries as I've gone through since that initial one, and, a lot of things that I have to do to accommodate, this pain and things that I can't eat anymore, and ways that I can't sleep anymore and stuff like that. But it all comes down to that experience actually gave me more than it took from me. Mm-hmm. And I have that to be grateful for. And my daily pain is my daily reminder of everything that I do have to be grateful for, because it supplied me with endless life lessons. Like I said, it's the gift that keeps on giving. All these years later, I still get to learn things about myself. I still get to learn things about our own human resistance, our own resilience, our own, everybody has a different path, but I think we are all innately born with the same tools and the same perseverance and strength and fortitude and the ability to overcome and adapt. I've answered this question a few times, but watch any alien movie where they're trying to come and take over planet Earth, and us wimpy little humans seem to prevail every time. So I think that we all have it, like, as a species. Like, I appreciate the compliments, but I also feel like I'm not special. I feel like every human being has this resilience. It is part of our survival mechanism. It is part of how we are wired by simply existing. So I believe that everybody truly has it. It's just getting the flashlight to find it and summon it and accept it when you need it. I obviously knew you when it happened. Yeah. And, as your friend, I was devastated for you when you called me and told me what happened. And I was like remarkably amazed at your recovery process. You got to have the pain threshold of a gorilla, because it's just remarkable. It's remarkable at what you were able to do and how you were able to recover so quickly. At least, people didn't know how much pain you were in. You and I spoke often at that time, and I knew from you communicating it to me. But wow, if people knew half the pain you were in and what you were going through and what you were able to accomplish in that moment, it's one of the all-time great stories. I'll be honest with you, it's that my life experiences have not been limited to just that as the only example. I remember my father was a pharmacist. So, anytime I got sick, it was like, he threw the whole pharmacy at me. I'm like, I don't want to take all that. I don't want to take that. My body was meant to heal itself. It might take me 3 days longer, but I'll get there. But anytime I was sick, even, playing ball in high school or college, basketball, those would be some of my best games. Look at Jordan with his flu game, even though it was food poisoning, it's almost like something that forces you to focus in a different way. Like you have no choice but to eliminate as many distractions as possible, because you're really just trying to fight through this one thing to go do this stuff, to go do this other thing that is important to you. So it's got a tremendous focusing effect when you have something like that to overcome, or when you have that kind of pain to navigate, or a situation to persevere. It becomes that's, I think, a lot of that kind of survival mechanism kicks in, as far as, summoning only that which is absolutely necessary and giving 100% in whatever that is.
Yeah. Rhonda, you've become a role model for many aspiring athletes. How important is it for you to use your platform to inspire and support others?
It's extremely important to me, only because I genuinely feel like my purpose has shifted from just being successful at my sport to I'm still alive for a reason. There's a lot of instances where I might or shouldn't be alive at this point. And I think that there's a reason I'm still here. And the only reason I can think of is that I still have more to do, more to give, more to experience, and more to share through those experiences with others, so that hopefully they don't have to go through what I've gone through to learn it the hard way. And maybe some people do. Maybe some people need to get the hard lesson instead of just the, hey, heads up. And that's fine. That's everyone's journey is different. But I do believe firmly that, I've been through these experiences in order to share them, in order to bestow, the tools that I've learned, or that I've, just invented out of necessity, even to overcome, persevere, but not just overcome and persevere, but just to thrive and succeed in anything that I want to do. And I want to share that. I want to share that.
Yeah. How do you use that experience to empower others to face challenges in their lives?
So I didn't realize how much I would enjoy speaking, but I do. I've been speaking for a little over 19 years now. I've been coaching for a little over 8. And I think, again, that those are kind of like hot buttons right now. Like, everyone's a speaker, everyone's a coach, but I don't feel daunted by the saturation of that industry, simply because I know that no one else has my story. No one else has my story. No one else has created these opportunities of what I have to share the way that I have. So I know that just by itself sets me apart, and that's fine. It doesn't make me any better or worse than anyone else. It's just that I know that I can bring I can bring something that I'm uniquely qualified to bring to the table for anyone that I can help through sharing those experiences and tools.
Without putting this, I'm going to go off script a little bit here, because without putting this, I feel like people need to know kind of the way I knew of what you went through. And without becoming gory or the dirty details that would cause this to be a mature audience's show, can you share a little bit more detail about what you went through, how it happened, and what really went on?
Yeah, so I was living in Hermosa Beach at the time. I was walking down the Strand. It was late at night. I was in search of water. We were out of bottled water. Did not want to drink LA Tap that night. So I was in search of just seeing if one of the stores that was on the same side of the street as where we lived was open or not. I'm walking down the street, and there was a guy standing underneath a street post, a light post, and he just kind of, acknowledged me. Hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm like, I'm doing all right. How you doing? He's like, I'm pretty good. How about you? And I'm like, could be better. And I'm just thinking we're having, some casual California conversation, not thinking anything of it. Next thing I know, another guy comes off of this darkened patio from my right that I never saw him coming. And he gets in my face, and I won't repeat what he said in order to keep it PG. But basically, he's like, "What'd you say to my boy?" Nothing, man. I'm just on my way. You guys have a good night. And I walked in between them, and I intentionally put my hands in my pockets so that they knew that I was not any kind of threat to them. And I continued walking a few steps, and the next thing I know, bam! And I just felt everything on this side of my face shift over here. And it wasn't necessarily a pain sensation per se, but it was it was the sound. It was the sound that threw me off. It sounded like when you snap celery in half. And as I'm processing that sound, bam, from the other direction. And that was when it kind of registered. I'm like, I'm getting attacked. I'm getting beaten. So all I could do was kind of go like this and try to swirl away. And I ended up taking about 10 to 15 shots to my face and head. And I turned around and I created enough space where I could turn around and square up. And I did. And that was when I turned around that I saw that they had on brass knuckles. And that was why the sound, then it registered kind of in the back of my mind. That's why it sounded so different than what I expected. So there was some words exchanged between them. I was just sort of micro-evaluating the situation because immediately when I turned around, of course, instinctively I wanted to hit back. But my immediate thought was, I have Worlds in 6 weeks. I don't want to break my hand on your dumb, stupid face and not be able to go hold my racket next month and represent my country. So I didn't turn around and start swinging because they had stopped. And I felt like if I unnecessarily escalated it, that was just going to make it worse. Like they stopped hitting. There's no reason for me to swing back right now. I think, were a little stunned at the situation. In fact, the cops would later tell me that I didn't respond the way they expected, and I didn't respond how I was supposed to. So that probably saved my life because I was never unconscious and I was never off my feet. And I don't think that they were prepared for how I did respond. And they ran off. I started to turn around and go home the long way because I didn't want them to know that the patio that one guy came off of was actually on the same property as where I lived. I lived above the garage right behind that house. I wanted to know that I lived right there. I didn't want them to follow me home or know that that's where I was if they wanted to come back later or whatever, anything like that. So I started walking home the long way, and I had my right hand over my face like this because I thought my eyeball was going to fall out. And you remember that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie? And there was that one little skinny pirate with the wooden eyeball that kept falling out the whole movie and chasing it around the ship deck and down the cobblestone street of the town or whatever. And that was what was going through my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, if my eyeball falls out, it's going to get sand in it. It's going to be gross. And I have to go put it back in. So I'm, got the right side of my face covered. I heard something and I turned around, and the guy that was, initiated the whole thing coming off the patio, he was coming back at me alone. Still wearing the brass knuckles and running at me like he was going to Superman punch me. And so I'm standing there like this, and I said, dude, just stop. Just stop. And I did that for two reasons. One, because, I wanted to give him that sense of, like, you don't need to prove anything. You've already punched the crap out of me. You don't need to continue to prove your point. I get it. You can hit me. Got it. But the other reason was I have one working eye. I have no depth perception, so I'd probably feel him if he moved closer before I would register, what I was seeing or how accurate my vision was at that point. So, again, without repeating exactly what he said, he basically threatened me in no uncertain terms, threatened to kill me where I stood. He promised to end me that night. And at that point, I was pissed. I was not having it. When he said what he said, again, I still had my hand like this. I had this hand out. I dropped both hands, made fists, and I said, okay, then go ahead. Go ahead. I'm right here. Kill me. What are you waiting for? Go ahead. Kill me. And that was all I said. And I wasn't challenging him. I just wasn't backing down. What was going through my mind was, you chicken. You guys came at me 2-on-1 from behind the first time. Now you're going to come at me face to face and threaten me? No. I will defend myself this time. I don't care that you're a guy. I don't care that you're bigger than me. I don't care that you have a weapon. I hit for a living, and I know how to generate force. So you very well might kill me tonight, but I will hurt you on the way down, so let's go. And that was what I was thinking on the inside. But when I said what I said, and I was waiting to, see what he was going to do and prepare to defend myself, he just kind of looked me up and down and went and ran off again. And then I was like, okay, are we done now? Started to walk home again, went upstairs. It never crossed my mind to call 911. It never occurred to me that a felony had just been committed. My brain never went there. So I went upstairs and I just started digging through the drawer, hoping that we still had some Advil left, because I'm like, man, this is going to be sore in the morning. Still, never crossed my mind that I needed any kind of medical attention. I also didn't know what I looked like. My partner at the time came around the corner and saw what I looked like and shrieked and said, what happened? And I said, I got hit. I remember turning my head and shrugging and everything. I go, I got hit. Why? Who hit you? I don't know. 2 guys outside. Maybe they didn't get enough hugs as kids. I don't know. But anyway, so 911 was dialed, and they got there so fast. They got there super fast. I ended up going to Little Company of Mary Hospital in Torrance, and I remember they did, all the tests and whatnot, and my partner then went down, once we got the report of, okay, you have several facial fractures, you're going to need a reconstructive surgery. Your surgeons will be in a few hours to talk about that with you, let you know how that's going to go. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Because this doctor just walked in one door, didn't look up from her clipboard, and then just started to walk out the other door. I'm like, I'm sorry, can you run that back? Are you talking to me? My face is what? So we had a more productive conversation. She looked me in the eye and said what was going on and made sure I understood it, and said if I had any questions, let her know. And then my partner went down the hall away from the emergency area that I was in and told my mother. And I remember the most horrible thing for me in all of this was, in that moment, I heard my mother shriek at the other end of the phone. And that's something that I can't unhear. Yeah. And that tore me up more than anything else.
Yeah.
And, when I ended up with the phone next to my head talking to my mother, she was just hysterical, and I was trying to calm her down. I'm like, Mom, I'm fine. I'm really I'm okay. She's like, no, you're not. Like, Mom, at the end of the day, I just took some shots to the face. It's no big deal. They didn't rape me. They didn't rob me. They didn't kill me. I'll be fine. And when I said that, I was trying to calm her down, but at the same time, I heard it coming out of my own mouth. I recognized that wasn't just to placate her. That is actually how I felt. It is actually my truth. And it also never occurred to me that I would not go to Worlds. Never crossed my mind that I wouldn't be. Not only would I be ready, I just assumed that I was still going. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got this much time to get ready. And I remember after the surgery, which was supposed to take between 4 and 5 hours, and it took over 12. My poor parents. I can't imagine sitting in that waiting room, for all those extra hours, wondering why there's no update, why I'm not out yet, what went wrong, am I still alive, all the things that, were horrible for them to have to consider. So I did get out of surgery. I think I was in the hospital around 2 weeks. I got jumped on June 1st. I didn't have the reconstruction until June 11th because they had to wait that long for the swelling to go down. And the reason that surgery took so long was because there was more damage than the scans revealed. So it took them all those extra hours to pull more bone fragments from my face so that they could begin the reconstruction without those fragments still being in there. So I got done, went home a couple of weeks after, the initial attack or whatever. And I'm on the phone with our U.S. team head coach at the time. And he's just checking on me, what the doctors say, how you feeling? Do you need anything? How are you doing? And by the end of the conversation, he goes, well, heal up quick, kid. We love you. We'll be thinking of you. And, we're going to play our asses off for you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be playing my ass off for you too. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, Worlds. He's like, he started laughing. He goes, you're not going. I'm like, what? Worlds is the reason I didn't hit back. There's no way I'm not going. This was my purpose. This was my purpose before I got jumped. This is absolutely my purpose after I got jumped. I'm going. And it wasn't ego. It was not ego, and it wasn't there was nothing, there was nothing selfish about it for me. It was I know what I'm capable of, and you're not letting me, use what I have to help Team USA. There was no ego attached to it. It wasn't about I have to go because that's my spot. No, it wasn't that at all. But when he said I wasn't going, I fell into a pretty deep depression for about 3 or 4 days. I think it was 3 or 4 days. I was heavily medicated, so time was a little twilight zone, if you will. But at that time, I knew that I wasn't going to do myself or the team any good if I stayed there in that headspace. So I sent him an email, and I copied anyone else I had an email address for with some position of authority that would determine if I, was going to go or not. So I just said, but I addressed it to him because he was the one who on the phone said, "You're not going." And when I sent the email, I typed it down and I said, "Dear Dave, apparently whether or not I go to the World Championships in Ireland next month is not up to me. But whether or not I am ready for the World Championships is entirely up to me. So please do whatever you have to do and make whatever calls and meetings you need to do to make sure that you are doing what you feel is truly in the best interest of Team USA. But just so you know, I will be ready to be the world champion by July 29th, because that was the day that my flight was supposed to leave." And I'll be honest with you, a few years ago, I looked up that email to make sure that I'm like, am I remembering that correctly? Because I was heavily medicated. And I did. I mean, that's the gist of it. But there was one sentence at the end that I forgot, I wrote. And then when I read it, I'm like, oh my God, who does that? Like, I can't believe I said that. But apparently the last sentence I wrote said, after I said whether or not I go, it's not up to me, but whether or not I will be ready to be the world champion by July 29th. I finished it with a sentence that said, "So if I don't go and you don't win, that's on you."
Oh man!
What?
So get fast forward at the World Championships. What happened?
63 days after getting jumped, 64 days after getting jumped, 53 days after reconstructive surgery, and 29 days after abandoning all paid meds against medical advice, I won my first world championship without losing a single game. Never went tiebreaker.
If this audience is not inspired by that, I don't know what they got to be in a coma.
I'll be real with you. I'm going to be raw and transparent with you right now. That is something tremendous that I am very, very proud of. It has also become a double-edged sword for me in a couple of ways, only because knowing that I'm capable of that, when I fail to meet my own expectations and the conditions are not that dire, they're not, I shouldn't be here. They're not, I can't eat solid food. They're not, I can't sleep laying down. I really did overcome so much. So I do know what I'm capable of. And I knew that even before I had to deal with this. I knew that. But that's why it's kind of become, a stick that I can beat myself up with too when I fail to meet my own expectations. Knowing what I'm capable of, and when I don't show up to the extent that I know I'm capable of for whatever reason, it's very frustrating. But that in itself has become, a learning experience for me that I would love to share with others, because it is something that, when you're constantly trying to improve, when you're constantly trying to elevate, when you're constantly trying to achieve and succeed, you reflect on past successes for guidance, but repeating the success is never at that same level again. It has to be greater. 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 And there's that. It's great to have that hunger, but it can be you can weaponize it against yourself when you put the expectations too high, or when you put the label on what you've done and what you want to do or what you have yet to do. And I'll quote John Wooden here because I love this quote. It's a great reminder for everyone who has either had success, who is on the verge of success, or who is still chasing success. And at any level of that success journey, of any level of your achievement, legacy in anything that you do, failure is never fatal and success is never final. Right. And if you can just approach whatever it is that you are doing for that next step, for that next, that next inch, that next 1%, whatever that is, keeping those two things in mind is, I think, imperative, because you are going to fail. But what are you going to do with that failure? Are you going to learn from it, or are you going to continue to repeat it? You will have success. And as soon as you achieve that, you start all the way back over again for the next one. And understanding that is the terrain of the journey. No matter what your field, no matter what your sport, no matter what your field, no matter what your career, no matter what your goals, that is the terrain that you will navigate over and over and over again.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Probably resilience. I think that I've had plenty of times, plenty of opportunities, plenty of times in my life where I could have walked away from something, but I just never have.
To end on a lighter note, like what's something about you that fans might want to know, hobbies, passions outside of racquetball?
I sing. I sing.
I did do a karaoke or two with you. I have to recall. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Hence your giggle, because you remember how I sang.
I do. Do you want to give us an example of the song choices you would make in your singing?
Oh, anything that probably had a mosh pit if it was live in concert.
There you go. There you go. That is what I remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I probably sang "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" when you
Right.
and I. Yeah, that was.
If I recall, I think we were at the Mint in LA. I think that was the karaoke club.
I think you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Hey, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would that be?
It's worth it. It's worth it. The sacrifices, the time, the dedication, the 4:30 a.m. wake up calls, to go do. I didn't have to go to the gym at 5 a.m. I wanted to go to the gym at 5 a.m. I don't have to play racquetball or basketball or any of the other things that I enjoy. I get to. And I'm grateful for that. And I would say to my younger self that, all those times that you could have been doing something else, the way that you did spend your time was worth it. Is worth it.
Fantastic message. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
It's been way too long. I haven't talked to you in probably a couple of years, really, on the phone. Yeah. I've talked to you texting here and there, but man, it's good to catch up with you.
You too.
Just real quick, how can the audience keep up with your latest projects?
I actually have a course that I'm gonna do. It's just a 7-day mini course that I'm going to be doing the first week of February. It has to do with goal setting, and I can't actually give you the title. There's a bad word in the title, but it has to do with basically dispelling New Year's resolutions.
Oh, we don't have to be that clean, Rhonda.
All right, I'll let you edit it in post if you want to, but the course is called Fuck Your Resolutions.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I can deal with that.
Yeah, it's a 7-day mini course. There's a private Facebook group created for it. I can send you the registration info sometime between now and whatever. But I've got that coming up, and also. And
what's the website that people should visit for you?
Website is rhondaspeaks.com, and my speaking coaching, and I do a little training on the side. It just kind of keeps falling into my lap, so. If it's a medium I can use to help people, that's what I'm here to do.
Absolutely.
And my Instagram is just my name, all one word, Rhonda Rajsich.
Love it.
On Instagram. Yeah.
I want to sincerely thank my special guest, Rhonda Rajsich. It's so good to see you, my friend. Again, if you want to learn more about Rhonda, go to rhondaspeaks.com. And if you want to learn more about me and what I do to help others learn about leaving a legacy through passive income, visit me at legacyallstarspodcast.com. See you next time, and please remember to subscribe.